Hi everyone, it's Nicole here today with a paper doll art journaling page, and this is my September 2014 entry. And I'm using lots of leftover paper from the Simon Says Stamp September 2014 kit, which was very book based, and so I kind of kept with the theme of the stamp set and papers in the kit, and I'm using tons of the leftover paper from the kit, which is from the October Afternoon Public Library paper pad, which was an 8x8 paper pad, and we got half of the sheets in the card kit. So, and for the background of my page, I went ahead and grabbed another October Afternoon paper from the Milk Money collection that had books on it because I kind of like that bookshelf theme. And then I cut down the card cabinet library paper included in the kit, and I'm going to adhere that right on top of it just to kind of look like maybe it's in the library. And then I have a whole bunch of these little stamped books that I created using the Simon Says Stamp to Thine Own Self stamp set. And I stamped them in 3 colors using the My Favorite Things Wild Cherry, Blue Raspberry, and Orange Fizz inks. And then I simply cut around them and glued them on top of the file cabinet. And I've already colored Simon in from the Simon Says Stamp Seasonal Simon stamp set. If you are curious how I colored him, maybe you haven't seen these videos before, you can reference any of the videos in my paper doll art journal for my series, is what I want to say. And you can check those out and see how I colored him. I colored him the same every single time. And use either this one from the Seasonal Simon stamp set or the Stylish Simon stamp set where he's standing. It's just a fun little way to kind of throw in and keep a theme throughout my album. I am using the leftover components from the Simon Says Stamp card kits every month, and I just thought it was a fun way to kind of incorporate that into my pages. Now this is the Betty stamp from the Julie Nutting paper doll stamp line. I try to use a different doll on every single one of my art journal pages throughout the year. And so this is the one I chose for my library type page. I think she's so cute with her little dress and her short little hair there and the big bow in her hair. I was lucky I love to stamp all of my dolls on this text type of paper, and I usually just use something in my stash. Well, it was really fortunate this time that a text paper actually came in the card kit rather. And so I just used that little half sheet of 8x8 paper to stamp both Simon and my doll stamp for my page design this month. So that was kind of a fun, great way. I already had my text paper. I didn't have to go looking for it or anything like that. I'm coloring in her hair using a feathering technique, which just gives a much more natural looking hair than coloring it in solid and blending like we normally do with Copic markers. So this is just a great way to get that kind of natural looking hair, get the texture and everything for it. I used some warm gray markers to create some dark or black hair, which you definitely do not want to color in solid black hair because it will look really flat. So I used lots of shades of gray, about 4 different shades, 4 or 5, to achieve her hair color for this page. Now I've designed her dress completely, or paper pieced it completely using leftover scraps of paper from the card kit. I cut that from a more cream style paper. It wasn't quite solid, but it was enough for the little lace around her neckline and the hem of her dress. Then I stamped the design again on the red paper and cut out the red portion, as well as the waistband of her dress and the bow from yet another red and cream design paper to really give a lot of texture and interest to the design, but yet keep it very much. I really wanted to keep with the red dress theme, but I wanted the little ruffles and things to be kind of white or cream as they are in this case. Now, just as I always do when I am paper piecing, since I didn't color in her clothing and I used pattern paper to create the clothing in her dress, I went ahead and took my warm gray markers and I am adding some shading detail to the pattern paper. Not a ton. I'm really following the lines and the design of the stamp and just going over that and adding a little bit of texture and design. It really helps add to that depth and dimension of the page when you add some shading to the pattern paper pieced elements. It makes it really coordinate nicely with the colored doll. So I'll finish her bow and add maybe a little bit more to the rest of her clothing, and then I will go ahead and cut her out and I'll be ready to pop her on the page. Now the dress is a little bit darker, so I tend to start with my lighter spectrum of gray markers, whether it's the cool gray or warm gray. And if that's not quite enough color or shadowing, I'll go with a little bit darker on the darker cardstock. It just depends on what works for the doll. So I always suggest starting light and working up to a darker color if you need to. Anywhere on the doll that has an area that would be hard to cut with scissors, I generally like to use a craft knife. I'm not great with a craft knife by any means, but I can do enough, I guess, to cut out any of these little inside pieces. I'm just cutting in between her legs there. I get such a much nicer cut with that than I do with my scissors that I really like to do that. And especially these little areas like where her arms are behind her back, that little open space. It looks a lot nicer on the page or the art journal page if you cut out those places, and I just think a craft knife works great. If you find your craft knife is really dull, which I did here a few days ago, be sure to replace your blade because they do get dull, and I had never replaced my blade, and I've had that craft knife from Tim Holtz for several years now, and it really needed replaced, and I can't believe I waited so long to do that. So she is ready to be cut out now. It is much easier to cut out those little areas before you cut around her, I think. The extra paper around the doll just gives it a little bit of stability. So I do suggest cutting out anything you want to with a craft knife first, and then go ahead and go around the design with your scissors. Now, because I went ahead and did the page first, which I normally don't do, but this page I just felt like it, I guess, that all I have left to do really is to add her to the page. And I felt like maybe she was a little short for the design, so I had some leftover books from when I was stamping the book design for the title for this art journal page, and I just cut out another one, and I'm going to have her stand on it there to the right of the file card cabinet, and that really kind of helps with the whole sizing and everything like that. I'll add some adhesive to the back of her, pop her on the page, and my art journal page for September 2014 is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing another paper doll art journal page. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more art journaling pages. We'll catch you next time.